Hello you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over 5 tips for fat loss / weight loss, and I'm super excited, so let's go. All right, tip number 1, you guys, and I'm starting with this one because I feel like it needs to be said and it's so important, but number 1 tip is to be patient with yourself. If this is your first time cutting, if this is your third time cutting, if you've never lost weight before in your life and you've now decided you're at a point where you want to, be patient with yourself and give yourself an appropriate timeline, right? So I think a lot of the time when we decide we want to lose weight or lose fat, we're really unrealistic with the amount of time that it takes to do that. And I see this all the time with my girls, you guys. Their wedding's coming up in 3 months and they want to lose 30 pounds. And it's like a big thing people don't realize about fat loss and weight loss is that it is never linear in that way. It's never linear. It's never perfect. Part of that is just because you have good days, you have bad days, you fall off track, you fall on track. Like, I think people don't account for the amount of time and maybe like the mistakes along the way and just the struggles, which obviously takes a lot more time. And then I think another part of that is that we don't know and we can't anticipate exactly how our body's going to respond to something. What works for the first 5 pounds may not work for the next 5 pounds. What works for the first, 2 months may not be what's going to work for the next month. Okay, so that was tip number 1. Be patient with yourself and give yourself an appropriate timeline. Don't be unrealistic. Don't expect it to happen overnight. And I'm starting with this one now because it's so important for you guys to remember. Tip number 2 is going to be to eat in a caloric deficit. Now, what this means is that you are going to consume less energy than your body is burning in a day. It's sometimes super challenging to know how many calories you should be eating if you don't know how many calories your body is burning. So what we can do is we can use calculations, which are not always 1000% accurate, but may be able to give you an idea of what your BMR is. In the description of this video, I am going to put 2 different options for calculating your BMR. You can use these, put your age, your height, your weight, your sex in, and then we will be able to kind of have an idea of where your calories are at, where your calories should be based off how many you're burning in a day. For example, if you are burning 2,200 calories a day and you are trying to lose weight, then obviously we need to be consuming less than 2,200 calories a day. The thing about BMR, as I mentioned, you guys, is it's not always 100% accurate. These calculations will work for probably about 70-75% of people, but they're not always 1,000% accurate. If you're someone who has like a naturally slower metabolism and a lower BMR because maybe you have like a past of dieting where you've spent so much time in a caloric deficit that you've brought your BMR down, then this may not be super accurate for you. Same thing if you're someone whose BMR is calculated at like 2,000 calories a day, but you're sitting there eating like 2,600 a day and not gaining any weight, then obviously it's not super accurate. So the best way to actually know your BMR would be to track food over an extended period of time, but no one really wants to do that, right? Like, if you're someone who's watching this video right now and you're wanting to lose fat, lose weight, etc., obviously you may not want to spend 2 months or a month tracking your food just to see, where you went. You may not want to spend that much time tracking your food just to figure out what your maintenance is, and then you still have a long road ahead to reach your goals and lose weight. So I totally get that. So what I would suggest is starting with a week or 2 at the amount of calories that you calculated and establishing if that is your true maintenance, right? You guys, this is only a week or 2, and then we have an idea. If you just jump right down to 1,500 calories, then nothing's changing, then we're still 2 weeks behind. So what I would suggest is calculate out your maintenance calories based off how active you are, and then take that amount of calories and aim to follow that as strictly as possible for a week or 2 and see what your weight does. If you gain a little bit, then we can guess that it's a little bit it's a little bit lower. If you lose a little bit of weight, then we can guess that it's potentially a little bit higher. When it comes to eating in a caloric deficit, we need to be consuming less calories than we expend. So what are we gonna do? Once we've established our maintenance calories, for example, let's say that you're at 2,000 calories a day and you're maintaining weight for that week or 2, you're feeling good, weight scale staying the same, then we have a pretty good idea that that's your maintenance level calories. Now we need to look at what are our goals. If we are trying to lose fat, which is what I'm going to be discussing in this video, then we need to be in a caloric deficit. If we're at 2,000 calories a day and we're maintaining weight, then to lose weight, we'll need to be eating less. I feel like I've said that 10 times. It's okay. You're still hanging with me. You're still here. Okay, so 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. We have 7 days in the week, you guys. So if we were to put ourselves in a 500 caloric deficit a day, that would accumulate a pound loss a week, which is typically what I aim for with most of my clients. The one thing I do want to say is we never want to just like aim to lose like 4 pounds a week or something crazy, you guys, because it puts a lot of stress on the body. I think some people under anticipate, you know, how hard weight loss is on the body. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. Like, you're hungry, you're tired, it can affect energy levels. And, you know, we want to do this in a realistic way. We want fat loss. We want majority of the weight that we're losing to come from fat and not from muscle. And when we are losing extreme amounts of weight very, very fast, it's very inevitable that we are going to lose muscle as well. And we want to limit that, right? We've worked hard for our gains. We've worked hard for our muscle. We want to try to maintain that as much as possible. Okay, so we are going to take our maintenance level calories. We're going to deduct 500 calories a day, and we're going to aim to follow that amount of calories every single day and be consistent, you guys. My tip number 3 that I want to get into next is, you know, when we are trying to lose weight and lose fat, it's super important that you are consistent. I see people all the time that are like, I'm eating in a caloric deficit and I'm not losing weight. And it's like, no, you're not. Like, it's no, you're not, right? So, you know, those little licks of peanut butter, grabbing a few bites of your kids' snacks, like the cookie you ate in the office that you forgot to track in your FitnessPal, like, it is super important that if you are trying to lose fat, that you are in a caloric deficit and that you are actually being consistent with that amount of calories and giving it time as well. You know, if you decided that, okay, I'm going to do 1,500 calories a day with my deficit, and you follow it for 3 days and you don't see the scale go down and then you give up, that's not going to get you anywhere, right? Like, we need that consistency and we need to actually give the body time. You guys, I've coached hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women, and I'm telling you, like, the number one thing that people tend to struggle with is just trusting the process, you know, eating the calories, trusting the process, and giving it time. Because as women, like, in a month, 1 week out of the month, we're on our period, so the scale's probably up. Another week out of the month, a week later, we're ovulating, so the scale's probably up again, right? So that's tip number 3, you guys, is just to be consistent in your deficit and actually track your calories or follow a plan. If tracking calories isn't like realistic for you and you don't want to be waking up every day and tracking, then sit down on Sunday, plan out your week, plan out your calories, measure everything properly, and make sure that the amount of calories you think you're eating is actually equivalent to the amount of calories you are consuming. The last thing that I want to touch on about being in a caloric deficit, you guys, is that it is not glorious. It is not fun. If you find that like that 500 calorie a day deficit is too much for you and you're too hungry, you know, it does not need to be that aggressive. It can be a much smaller deficit. I never typically start any of my clients. Actually, I never, ever start my clients on a 500 calorie a day deficit. I was just more so using that for the example. Another thing that I want to kind of mention with this, you guys, is you can look at your maintenance calories and say, okay, I'm going to cut 500 a day. Or another option would be to, you know, cut 250 a day and then increase, you know, your cardio to 250 calories burned a day, right? Because there is going to be your 500 caloric deficit. 250 extra calories on top of your 2,000 a day that you're burning, and then eating in a deficit of 250 calories. So you can play around with cardio and food to find like what you feel best at and what your, you know, how your body's responding to certain things, what your energy levels are, where your hunger is. Like, this is, you know, there's no like, this is not black and white. This is not like one shoe fits all at all. Yeah. Okay. Tip number 4 is going to be to focus on the quality of your calories as well, you guys. This plays a huge role. It's not just a matter of I'm gonna eat 1500 calories a day and I'm gonna eat shitty and I'm gonna eat all my calories and sugar and carbs right before bed, because food has an effect on the body, right? It has an effect on your digestion, it has an effect on your energy levels, etc. So focusing on making sure that those calories actually come from good whole food sources. The two things I really want to stress focusing on the most would be protein, making sure you are getting a sufficient amount of protein in your diet, anywhere from 25 to 35% of your caloric intake coming from protein, give or take, depending on how you're feeling, how you're digesting that protein. When we are in a caloric deficit, as I mentioned earlier, you guys, we're not just losing fat, we are inevitably going to lose some bit of lean muscle tissue. So by making sure that protein is high and making sure we're getting enough of that in, we're going to hopefully limit that. So protein, baby. Get your chicken, get your steak, get your fucking eggs and egg whites. Like, make sure your protein is prepped, because it is the easiest thing to undereat, right? And so, you know, carbs are easy to find, you know, they're like men, they're everywhere. They're easy to find, but I do feel like when it comes to protein, being somewhat prepared and at least planning, like, okay, this week I'm prepping chicken, I'm gonna cook up some, you know, ground turkey and put some taco seasoning in it, and, you know, then you can throw it on a salad, you can eat it in a wrap, like making sure you have some sort of proteins prepared for the week. You know, yogurt bowls, protein shakes, and smoothies are totally fine as well. Obviously, I wouldn't ever suggest anyone to be eating like 5 protein shakes a day. You want your protein coming from like whole protein sources for the most part, but getting a smoothie in each day, a scoop of protein powder is not gonna hurt. It's helpful, it's great. I typically give all my clients a smoothie each day. I have a smoothie every day. We love our gains, we love our protein, we get it in. So yeah, protein. And then the last thing in regards to quality food, which was tip number 4, is going to be fiber. So making sure that you are getting in enough veggies, you guys. I know it sounds so boring, and, you know, maybe in a perfect world we could all, you know, look amazing and never have to eat broccoli and asparagus again, but the reality is, like, fiber is so important for not only your gut health, but keeping you full as well, right? Like I mentioned, like when you're in a caloric deficit, you're typically going to feel pretty fucking hungry. So, you know, you can eat like a whole cup of broccoli or 2 cups of broccoli, and, you know, it's going to help to fill you up, even though it's really like basically empty calories. Like a lot of vegetables, you guys, your body's going to burn more calories breaking that shit down than you're ever going to actually get out of the veggies, which is a good thing as well, because this plays into like the thermic effect of food, which I will touch on in a next video. But to basically summarize it, you know, certain foods, our body has to burn more calories to actually get the energy from the food, right? So when it comes to eating a lot of veggies and stuff, we are essentially kind of helping our body burn more calories through the breakdown of food as well. Our body gets to do what it's meant to do, you guys. Like, our body is meant to break down whole foods. It's not meant to be eating like sugar and chocolate bars all the time, where literally the body has to do nothing. Like, it's, you put it in your mouth and it's basically glucose. So that is kind of like my last little part of tip 4, which was to focus on quality calories and actually making sure that your calories are coming from the proper food groups, the proper food sources, and not just 1500 calories of whatever the hell you want. And my last tip, you guys, tip number 5, if you're still here, you're still with me, you're still listening, I really appreciate it, and I hope you're getting some sort of value out of this video. Last tip, tip number 5, you guys, if you are focused on fat loss and weight loss and you want to get lean and you want to see results, you gotta be sleeping. Okay, you gotta sleep. You gotta sleep properly. You need quality sleep, you guys. I know it's so overrated and people are like, yeah, but it's like, seriously, like I have certain clients who I've been working with for so long, and I know their bodies so well, and, you know, they have one week where, you know, the scale doesn't move or the scale goes up, and I see on their check-in that they literally slept 5 hours a night, and usually they sleep 7, and I'm like, hey, and they're like, yeah, I know. And then guess what happens the next week? When they get proper sleep. So much happens when you sleep, you guys. Your body resets, and it really plays a huge role in fat loss and weight loss. So prioritize your sleep, prioritize quality sleep, you know, keep your mind calm before bed. Don't be sitting there scrolling on the gram till 2 in the morning. You gotta get your sleep if you wanna reach your goals. All right, that is it. That is all she wrote. 5 tips. That's not all I wrote, actually. I'll have more to come. But if you stuck with me this long, thank you. Please like, subscribe, and comment in the sections below of any topics and stuff you guys want to see in the future. I'm gonna have a lot more stuff coming down the road, you guys. This YouTube channel is just getting started, and I'm super excited for all of your love and support. So, thank you. Namaste.